mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
duo
of feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Both and Zach kicking it cooler than two. When still Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Both and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We are going to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We are going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this city. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends, the official home of EJ Smith on this Thursday evening. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn. Lots to talk about. Jalen Hurts returning to practice for the first time since injuring his shoulder against the Bears. We've got to talk about this game against the Saints. Will Jalen Hurts play? Will he not play? We've got Swooper to get to. We've got a little Crow Thine Enemy, Crystal Bald Eagle, and all of that. Marissa, how are you? And what do you hate the most about Sheil?
I don't hate anything about Sheil. I actually meant to send you guys a picture because I have both of your Christmas cards sitting right next to each other. I figured it would be like a nice little, throwback to our days together. So with your kids. But I'm doing great. I missed you guys. It's been a while.
The kids will now. This is going to be a generational thing. The kids will now have to grow up. It's like this, like the Capulets and the Montagues. They're going to be growing up having to hate each other too.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Casey or Jade.
The Hatfields and the McCoys.
And Leela. But yeah, it's been a long time. I feel like since our last pod. Hope you guys had a good Christmas and some nice time with family. So excited to be back and ready to go.
I thought it was telling that EJ went on the other show, but then finished that by then coming into our comment section as if he needed to prove which show he was actually loyal to. Zach, how are you?
Doing great. Excited for this podcast. Agree with Marissa. It's been too long. I hope all of our listeners and commenters had a wonderful holiday and big week ahead. We have New Year's Eve, Saturday night, a lot of good college football on. And then Sunday, huge Eagles-Saints game, a chance for the Eagles to lock up the number 1 seed at home. There's quarterback intrigue, other injuries of note. So it's a meaty week for the Eagles. It's certainly not a forgettable week, and there's a lot to get into.
It's good that we can say without the other guy here, we can say meaty and not, be worried about offending his sensibilities.
Would that be offending his sensibilities?
I don't know.
I'm not suggesting eat it. So in any respect, much to come.
All right, Zach. Well, let's get to the big story here because a bit of an interesting scene at practice today. The Eagles had to move practice from the NovaCare complex to Lincoln Financial Field, and we walk out there, and
what's so funny here? Oh,
what?
What is he doing here? Get him out of here!
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Sheil, we miss you.
I mean, Bo wanted to be some secretive, surprise. I don't know what he's talking about. He doesn't invite me on for 6 months, and then he wants the secret. I was going to text you guys on the side to really stick it to him, but I could tell this was one. I don't even know, what did you say to open the show? I missed it.
He was just trying to, throw these daggers, and I kept trying to bring it back in. Zach was trying to bring it back in. But
I'll have to go back and listen.
You have to go back and look at my face when I see you pop in, because I can see things behind the scenes in StreamYard, and that was like a late Christmas present. I'm so excited.
Zach is like,
what are you doing here? Don't you have
3 hour
other
pod,
shows?
We thought we were
no, this is good. We can talk football.
Practicing. Yeah. What?
Good to see you, Sheil. You're doing a good job.
I have a list of, I've had this list of things to rip Bo for like 6 months, but he's pushed it back and back. That now, I did some work today. I put together a little list here that I can get to, but it's the good stuff probably left by break.
Just out of curiosity, Is this like the Coach Flynn text threads where Marissa and Bo knew about this? Marissa, did you know about this?
I had no
Okay.
idea.
So this was a Bo and Jill. Okay,
Yes.
good. So Marissa and I are in.
Why are you
in the
breaking
same spot.
kayfabe? This is we're supposed to be creating heat here. You know, there's an angle that we've got that we're building, and you're coming out. You're working yourself into a shoot. What's going on? How are you?
Oh, you're talking to me? Oh, yeah, I think you're talking to Zach. I don't really know what kayfabe is. I've heard you use kayfabe every other show. You say kayfabe. I don't know. I don't really know what that means. That's a wrestling term. That's an acting term. What is kayfabe?
Yeah, it's a wrestling term. This must be nice for you, Sheil. It's been what, like 4 months or so of, like, you know, you have to be the new guy. You have to sort of hide yourself on these shows. It must be nice for you to sort of, you know, peel back the curtain and be yourself again.
No, I don't think that's true. I think my personality has shown, and the people have enjoyed it. So, I mean, I have my list here.
Flex.
Let me know when
you
we
know, it's
get to it.
Whatever. All right. Why don't
Have
we
we thrown it to the Stone Cold Newsman yet?
We have not. Why don't you do it? You can have a little treat.
I'm not throwing it to the Stone Cold Newsman.
All right. Well, with the GOAT, Jim Gardner retired. Zach Berman is now the preeminent newsman in Philadelphia. We send it now to him at Lincoln Financial Field via the suburbs after a very newsy day, a surprising day at Eagles practice.
The big news at the NovaCare Complex this week, as it was last week, is the quarterback situation, the status of Jalen Hurts, who has an injured throwing shoulder. Jalen Hurts did not participate in the walkthrough on Wednesday, but at practice on Thursday, as Bo mentioned at the top of the show, he was out there at the start of practice. He was officially a limited participant, but we saw him throw the ball. We saw him moving well, or at least moving. And so this does not mean that he will be the starting quarterback on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints, but certainly adds intrigue to that and opens up that possibility. The other big injury of note that I think fans are monitoring, as they should, is Lane Johnson. He is out for an extended period here. He is hoping to be back for the playoffs. He's foregoing or postponing, I should say, surgery until after the postseason so he can play. He won't participate in the regular season games. It makes it even more critical for the Eagles to get the bye. The Eagles are not saying who is the starting right tackle. We're going to get to that after the news segment. I will editorialize and give some opinions on what they might do. But for the news segment here, we will simply say that Lane Johnson out. The Eagles will have a new right tackle. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, even though he's eligible to be activated off IR this week, has not been activated, or they have not started his practice window. You will not see him playing against his former team on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints. Other injury notes real quick. Avonte Maddox is going to miss extended time. He's out indefinitely. He has a toe injury, not on IR, but not practicing right now. Is in a walking boot. Miles Sanders, who missed practice on Wednesday, was a limited participant today with a knee injury. I spoke to him after practice. Sounds like it's precautionary. He will be out there on the field on Sunday against the Saints. Otherwise, you're mainly looking at rest injuries. A.J. Brown has a knee injury that has limited him, but expect him to play. Jordan Davis has passed the concussion protocol. He's certainly very close to that. He was a full participant. Spoken to him today. Nice catching up with Jordan. And other than that, that's the main news. We will have a lot to discuss back in the studio. Back to you, Bo.
Thanks, Zach. Let's sort of paint the scene of what happened at practice. We come out. The practice is at Lincoln Financial Field instead of at the NovaCare Complex, and it's a bit of a surprise that we walk out and there are 3 quarterbacks in red jerseys throwing during warmups, and that Jalen Hurts is there. And of course, like all the media, walks over, flocks. Everybody's taking their videos. Get a picture and videos of Jalen Hurts throwing the ball to put on social media. This comes a day after the Nick Sirianni's answer to Mike Sealski sort of made the rounds about how, Jalen can do anything better than you, and he's a crazy healer. And so Sirianni walks over to the media. He's like, I told you. And then practice continues. There are portions of practice, the beginning of practice, which we are not allowed to film, but we can say that Jalen Hurts was not the top guy taking reps during some of those parts of practice. He was listed as a limited participant. And so like when we come out and he is throwing, I'm like totally sucked in. I'm like, wow, Jalen Hurts is going to play in this game. This is unbelievable. He is the Wolverine. He's going to come back and win this game and win the MVP. Like, I am like totally bought in. And then as practice goes on, I'm like, okay, let's take a step back here. Let's think about this as like a made for TV production that it may very well have been. He's a limited participant. It still doesn't make a ton of sense to push it. But the fact that he has this injured throwing shoulder and is throwing would let you know that he's been cleared to some degree. And if he's been cleared, don't you think that he's going to want to play? And so I've sort of gone back and forth, but Zach, since you were there, I can't speak for this other guy who, is just podcasting from his basement, never decides to come and actually watch a practice or show up in a locker room. We don't know.
I mean, who invites someone on and then just like 10 minutes without even throwing to the guy? I mean, did you want to call me when you're ready for me to say something? I mean, what is going on? I'll give some feedback. My first bit of feedback is, how is there not an Aunt Karen segment? I mean, who's batting with a higher percentage? She came in, crushed it, and then we never heard. I mean, I would like her to text. I would like her to text anytime she's watching, and you read her text. I mean, that was the best moment. I don't know when the Ospreys are, but that was the best. Oh my God, that was so funny. I was dying, and then he just moved on. Zach,
as a reminder to our audience, and Karen gave a Salman Rushdie reference. Okay,
I mean,
so you can go back and listen to that.
Yeah, she knew the town. That was outstanding. So did you get do you think Jalen Hurts is going to play or is he not going to play? I mean, let's cut through all they were doing this. Is it a PR stunt? You got 100 turkeys. Is he playing or is Minshew starting?
I still think it's Minshew. I've been operating under the presumption that we are not going to see Jalen Hurts until the postseason. It's the way he's progressing, and perhaps they want to see him get some action in the Giants game if they do clinch this weekend. I still think it's going to be Minshew on Sunday, but I remember our discussion about Jason Peters, and when we kept saying who's going to tell him he's not playing or who's going to tell him he's not back, and it's kind of like that with Jalen Hurts. Is that I think some of what Nick is saying publicly is to placate Jalen. Jalen likes to operate under the presumption that he's a different breed, that he's built differently, right?
I mean, he literally has rare breed tattooed on his
yes,
chest. Right.
Yeah. So it speaks his language when you're speaking his language when your coach is getting up there publicly and saying he's different than all of you, right? He heals faster. If there's anyone who can be out there, it's Jalen Hurts. So I understand what Nick Sirianni's doing there, and it very well may be the case, but I still think that it's going to be Minshew, although I'm reserving like final judgment until I want to hear what Nick says tomorrow. Hopefully we have the chance to talk to Jalen tomorrow, so I'm very curious to see.
Yeah, our understanding is we're going to get to talk to at least one of the quarterbacks tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say like this morning, I would have said I would have put like 3 turkeys on Jalen Hurts playing on Sunday, and now I would put 20.
20? Okay.
I don't know. What do you think that's fair, Zach?
Oh, I think it's more than fair.
Okay. Well,
Marissa,
so
I love the
for
idea
some of our.
Go ahead. I love the idea of Michael doing the jersey swap with, who was it, Brady or Diggs, just going up to him after the game. I mean, I thought that had to be done. I thought that should be recorded by like Brown's social media. It'd be great for his brand. See how they react. See what they say afterwards. It could have been a nice moment.
Unfortunately, no jersey swaps, but he is watching and did text when he saw Shield pop in. What a moment with a bunch of exclamation points. So he is just as excited to have you back, Shield.
Very nice. I appreciate it.
Although he has called out, like the day that Coach Flynn was on your pod, he sent me a text and was like, "What is this?" Like, so he's been following the beef too. So,
we've been trying to build up this beef for months.
There's no beef on my end. Yeah, I'm happy.
So for our newer listeners, of which there are so many, who may not be familiar with you, this is Shil Kapadia. He is a handicapper and a Phillies podcaster for The Ringer, and that's about all you need to know. Did I cover it?
Zach, I loved when you were explaining why you loved Indianapolis so much, and you're like, easy to get to, in and out. Well, I have a connecting flight on the way home. How easy can it? You gotta connect when you go to Indy. Yeah, that can't be a perk if you're connecting when you go to Indy.
It's been 11 years going to Indianapolis. First time I ever had to connect. Trying to help the company out there, but
no, I like when you throw those jabs in.
Yeah.
You talked about you're doing.
We were on the same. We were on the
company
same thing. We were on the same flight.
Yeah. So a quick anecdote. I think I said this on a cameo. I didn't say this on the pod. Our listeners might enjoy this. You might enjoy this.
I just assume that all of our listeners also scroll through the public cameos.
So
can anyone get to those if they wanted to?
I think so.
Oh.
I think a lot of them I've had as private recently, but yeah, I think you can see a good amount of them. And there's been a lot.
So our layovers in Washington, we land in Washington, and I say to Ann, you see the Lincoln Memorial there and the Washington Monument, the Jefferson Memorial. Across the rivers, there's the Pentagon. And I say to Bo, I say, doesn't this get your juices flowing? This is our nation's capital.
He texts me, which I don't get until we land. I'm sitting in a middle seat. I'm not like sitting there like eyeing the window.
And Marissa
doesn't this get your
exactly
juices flowing? What, that we just landed in DCA?
Yes, that you're in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital.
My God.
Barely.
That would get none of my juices flowing. Get me out of here. Is what my reaction would be.
So on the right side of the screen, or at least my right here, Marissa and me, we have an appreciation for Washington. It seems Bo and Sheil don't like Washington. So
the one thing we can agree on.
Yeah, I think that would be accurate. Now, Bo, you didn't even remember that you went to the pizza place with me. Is that the place you were talking about? You said you and Zach, you tried to go to a pizza place. Was this Indianapolis? You said the one you and Zach. Did you try to go to the place you and I went to where we sat at the bar?
Yeah, I thought it was all three of us. I didn't realize.
Why
it was just
on earth would you try to go to this place? You should have seen this place. There's literally cop cars outside the place. There was some type of violent crime that happened right before we went in.
No, it wasn't violent.
It was literally a frozen pizza they put in there. And I mean, talk about a place I would never return if I went to Indianapolis. And that was your choice.
Well, that's how low I had to stoop. That's all the more reason why Indianapolis was getting the grouse.
Sheil, what do you think of pizza? Would you what was Zach's line? A day with pizza.
A day without pizza is better than a day, or a day with pizza is better than a day without.
Yeah, I would generally agree with it. Although I had a feeling I knew what Bo's response was going to be as the words were coming out of your mouth there. So that did not surprise me. I just didn't know what example he was going to give. You eat pizza, you get punched in the face. You don't eat pizza, you don't get punched in the face. Which day would you choose? So I did certainly understand that part of it. I thought the Louie Bag, Zach, I was with you. I mean, I don't think you should have backed down from that. I mean, if I see Bo in the airport carrying a Louie bag, I'm going, who the hell does this guy think he is, walking around with a Louie duffel bag? I mean, you had the right take there. They made you feel like you were nuts. You had the right take. I'm not carrying a Louie bag. I mean, if I reach a certain status in my life where I feel comfortable enough to be carrying the Louie bag around the airport, then fine. But yeah, Bo, I mean, carrying the Louie bag.
There was an update to that.
Person.
There was an update to that. Jacoby got them to me bags. rolly suitcases today.
Oh, see? Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
So I think I deserve a trip with all these new bags that we have.
Yeah.
So I'm more of a Jacoby guy then, because
Yeah.
I would carry a Toomey
Toomey
around.
you could do. Yeah.
It's a
Toomey you could
rolly.
do.
A rolly
And
one.
and you know, I mean, he's getting paid less. He didn't get this Louie hookup that Jalen Hurts had too. I'm Jacoby Brissett, stock way up.
Is my audio bad? Should I try to find the other mic to plug it into the? It's only for live listeners. I think if you're listening on the podcast, it'll sound fine.
Shield's a little rusty with the live.
Shield's mic is. We're gonna have his local recording. So if you're,
Okay.
if you're
I can switch it to the other one here in a moment. The other one, Zach, they made you feel bad. But I mean, the Aaron Judge home run ball. I mean, come on, $2 million. You're not giving up the Aaron Judge. Why would you not give up?
This is great. He's got notes from October, September.
Listen, this is what happens when you wait this long to have me on. I mean,
the first time we asked you to come on, you said it wasn't cleared, and so what are we gonna do?
It was like 3 days. I hadn't even done the orientation to Spotify yet. So yeah, I needed a minute before that. But $2 million, the Aaron Judge home run ball, you're just gonna give it to the man? Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I even stand by that. It was
Okay, good.
a fleeting take at the time.
It was just disagreeing with me, Shield. That's essentially what it was.
How did you feel? I didn't get the whole story. When Sirianni gives you a hard time, I assume you're sitting next to your partner in Bo, and yet Tim McManus is the one who has to come to the rescue and kind of stand up for you. I mean, how did that take us behind the scenes on that one?
T-Mac's a real one, right? Appreciated that. Because
I think the problem is if I had done it, it wouldn't have carried the same weight. Sirianni didn't even know my name.
No, Sirianni gave you a bow yesterday, by the way.
Because he's corrected there.
But no, it was it. I don't think Bo needs my defense here, but in Bo's defense, Nick literally looked the other way. He's like, I'm not taking Zach's questions. He looked the other way, and then T-Mac sits on the other side, and Tim was like, I'm not asking a question here. So yeah, T-Mac's a real one. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I one of the many reasons why T-Mac is so great. He in like the like us of the beat in a press conference setting like that. T-Mac is always willing to be a dog. Remember at the owners meetings when he sort of called out Jeffrey for a generously described fabrication that he was telling, and he was like, well, you did say, or I forget the exact specifics, but T-Mac's always good for setting the record straight in that setting.
That was a good one. Now, what I've enjoyed about
for Shield to come onto the podcast and just pump up T-Mac, right?
The same as it ever was.
Yes.
What I've enjoyed about the show is more Marissa. I mean, getting Marissa involved in Super is like a huge upgrade over me in Super. You need to get her involved more. I mean, you guys have these roster conversations where you're mansplaining stuff. Like, she's literally lived the life. She knows the roster rules so much better than anybody I know. She has to correct you guys every time. Next time there's a roster question,
that's not true.
Marissa. No, that is true.
If we rewind the tape, I always
think that is true.
So actually,
it's the first good take he's had.
Sure, it's interesting you bring that up, because feedback that I got from a listener was that I always will say to Marissa, you know what I'm talking, or Marissa can appreciate this. And the listener thought that I too often lump Marissa in as Michael's, as the wife of a player. And yeah, I mean, obviously Marissa's an outstanding producer. I view her, but in that regard first. But where I'll push back, Shield, is that every time I talk about a roster thing or something that a down the depth, I don't want to say down the depth chart, a reserve player or a practice squad player is experiencing, I will always say, Marissa, you this is something you can appreciate, especially.
Yeah, I think that was probably more directed at Bo.
Okay.
Come on, just go there. Just go.
I don't think so at all. I do need some.
The universal criticism that I speak too much is probably reasonable.
I just need help with Swooper Shield. I'm enjoying playing, but
now I haven't.
numbers
Now, Shield, you will be joining us for Swooper in this episode, right?
Oh, I will? I don't know. I saw you tweet out double episodes, so I thought maybe I was out of Swooper. I could do my part, and then you guys could do Swooper afterward. But you
No,
tell me.
I have an idea
mic
for you
situated
for
here.
Swooper for this episode.
As long as
that
I don't have
think
to
will work well.
participate, yeah, I'm in.
I think even
I can
better,
read
you
the
get to
prompt.
participate.
That option available
at
for
my
me as well?
expense.
Oh.
I can keep going down my list here.
No,
Unless
what
you
are
guys
we-
have Eagle
yeah.
things to.
We're going to talk about the game at all?
Let's
or-
get through your list,
Okay.
then we'll take a
Okay.
break, and then we can talk some actual Eagles.
I mean, I think you have to get to a break before I'm done my list here. I mean, you guys spiking the football off of these little, like a Grant Calcaterra, Z Berman, like he has a catch the third day of trail. Oh, you guys weren't high on Grant Calcaterra and like Brock Purdy. I mean, do you remember the most famous moment in the history of the show was predicting how the Super Bowl was going to end to the
Please.
second, and you're spiking
What
the football.
Oh,
Oh, I
on
thought I was
Grant
talking up Jalen
Calcaterra
Reagor.
and
I thought I
Brock
was talking up
Purdy?
Jalen Reagor.
I mean, come on, give me a break
Please.
here. You gotta
Nailing
have
Brock
some-
Purdy is much more impressive.
You got to know the history of the show a little bit more. So.
Shield, by the way,
what would you know about it? You're not even here anymore.
Yeah, is there a
You can't
mea
be coasting
culpa?
off your previous jobs.
Is there
I
a mea culpa you have for Max Duggan? By the way, this guy's playing in the playoffs. You were talking about like Jalen Reagor as if.
Good job by
Sorry.
you, Zach, bringing up Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, no,
That's-
I
nail
taken
him
my
on that.
medicine for Jalen Reagor. I don't think I was overly harsh on a Max Duggan. I mean, I thought Reagor was good. Reagor wasn't good. That's okay. You hit on the Super Bowl prediction. You miss on a Reagor. It all evens out here. Now, Bo,
You and Howie are very similar in that regard. Yeah.
Bo, can you explain what you were doing with this EJ Smith situation? I mean, that was embarrassing for you. Did you bring it up in the beginning of the show? Have you apologized to EJ yet about this? No.
EJ made his loyalty very clear. He came on our show, then he went on your show, and after he went on your show, he came into our live chat. So that tells you where his loyalty lies.
He's
in
here
our
tonight,
chat. He's in
too.
the chat tonight.
So for those who don't know, I asked EJ to come on the Ringers Philly special as a guest podder, post-game pod. Bo gets wind of this and then asks EJ on to be on with you guys. I mean, you could have had EJ on any time. That's so rude.
Thank
over
you,
the last
Shield.
3 years, EJ is a very talented guy. You could have had him on anytime. You use him like that. I mean, I thought that was highly embarrassing.
EJ's a great guest and
Great guy. Yeah,
I'm kind of with Shield. The Pro Bowl was coming out that night. EJ had to cover the Pro Bowl. I've been in that seat at the Inquirer. You got to do your story on the Pro Bowl balloting, and we're like pushing to do it live that day, getting the segment in before we talk about the game.
EJ
just
is a
so we can have
sicko. He can appreciate it.
Before. Yeah,
He understood that we're sparking and igniting the rivalry more for this to be the end point. That's the whole point. He's a fan of the show.
Okay, is this
way
sound better?
Yeah, way better.
Yeah, that's much better.
Sorry about that. All right.
That's okay. Hope our audio listeners won't even know the difference.
You know what? Maybe that was Shields' nod to our EJ interview, was just to have bad audio for the first 25 minutes.
You can continue. I'll sprinkle in the rest of mine the rest of the way. I know you guys got actual Eagle stuff to get to. And I'll sprinkle in my takes as I see fit. Like if you start doing like a 10-minute Josh Jobe thing or something, I'll just come in with some takes from your September shows. But otherwise, you can go forward.
All right. Well, why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about this matchup, maybe some thoughts on the Cowboys game, having rewatched it, Zach, and whatever other little complaints Shield has from October 14th. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's the holidays. Holidays can be tough for everybody. And so whether you are navigating any of life's challenges that can make you feel unsure, or dealing with a career change, family issues, a new relationship, becoming a parent, anything, just the grind, the unceasing monotony and pressure of everyday life, sometimes you need somebody to talk to. Well, that's where BetterHelp comes in. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Those are not vet therapists. These are not therapists for your pet. These are vetted. So just keep that in mind. Although you probably could like talk about your pet issues. I think that would be fine. And it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It could not be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/BWF. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/BWF. If your New Year's goals are to manage your budget better and save a little cash money, well, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show, or that free trial that you never even used. I know that this is definitely the case for me. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as a click of a button, which is good because there are a couple ones I've had in the past that are like notoriously difficult to cancel. There's a certain newspaper that falls along those lines. We'll see that for later. But that's okay. All you got to do is find the subscription you don't want, press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of it for you. They do the whole thing. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. So stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/birds. That's rocketmoney.com/birds. rocketmoney.com/birds. All right.
There was one more. So,
go ahead.
You had something that I thought was like grounds for suspension a couple weeks ago. Something that the Bo Wulf of 2017 would have said, I will never be doing this in 2022. Do you know what it is?
No idea. I don't even know what I said yesterday.
You said something to Zach like, oh, by the way, that reminds me something I have to tell you about, like after the show, like off the air. Like it was something so juicy that the listeners couldn't be privy to listen to it. I hate when podcast hosts do this. So we're not important enough to get your juicy nugget. I mean, you could have just texted him. You could have written yourself a little note. I'll tell this to Zach afterwards, but you let everyone know. That I thought should have been grounds for suspension.
I think that's a good note. I take that. I'll go mow a culp on that. I think that's exactly right. Zach, do you remember the thing that was?
I do.
What was it?
I remember when you did it. I don't remember what it is you wanted to tell me.
No, I don't think you even told us because
Yeah,
I
you
remember
didn't.
thinking when we got off
But
the
I
pod.
told you later.
Marissa
Zach,
was
I
feeling
think.
that one. I just saw her nod in her head as soon as I started on that.
No,
one.
because I never got to know what it was. So I was curious. Let's not share and get
you
us
don't
all
have to
fired.
share with the class. I don't want to get you in trouble. All right, last one. Zach, early on,
I remember what it was.
You mentioned something about like another writer said to you, like, why can't you got to go do a podcast now after a game? Why can't you just do it in the morning? Remember this conversation?
Yes.
Come on. In the morning? A post-game pod in the morning? Come on, you, the listeners, think a younger Zach, sports fan. You wake up on a Monday morning. You want to see what your favorite podcaster said. It's 8:30. Yeah, well, if it was you were probably up like 5:30 in the morning. You're going for the bike ride on the Schuylkill Trail. You can be waiting until the next day to do a post-game pod. Come on, that's insulting.
I agree with you. That's why we do it.
I'm never gonna be invited. I better get it all out now. I see your faces. I don't think I'm.
Yeah,
coming
that's.
back.
I explained that's why we do it post game. But if you're simply focused on the quality of the material, then
I don't agree with that though.
I can do a better podcast at 6 a.m. than I can.
I don't
at
agree
3
with
a.m.
that. It's not as fresh. I don't know. I have a question for Shield.
Sorry, go ahead.
Shield, how do you plead if we're doing a flock trial on the charge of purposefully needling Zach by naming your podcast after the title of the book that he wanted to have before it was stolen from him by someone else.
I actually
You're
don't
like
think I ever talked.
reopening a wound in his back.
Bo, I actually don't think I
Yeah,
ever brought
that's
that up
true.
on the show. So that's. I really wish you didn't say that just now. I think there's a lot there with publishers.
Oh, I mean, well,
Rewarding. See, this is good. You're rewarding the viewers for watching live. All right, continue.
that's all right. Nobody knows the name of your show anyway, so
I'll take a break now. Okay.
I think I've mentioned it before. So I'm sorry, Zach.
Yeah, Nick Field says Bo's brought it up before.
Okay, well there you go. Okay. All right, so guilty is how you plead. All right, Zach. After sitting with the Cowboys loss for the past 72 hours, watching it back, what jumped out to you? What sort of changed from what you thought post game?
Well, so offensively, I thought that they had a really good game plan. I thought that the play designs were like, when I was watching it back, I was like, this is a really nice play. And I kept saying that. I thought obviously that the turnovers were bad. Now Jason Kelsey, I was listening to his podcast in the car last night, and he thought one of the interceptions should have been a pass interference. I didn't have the thought that it should have been a pass interference. I kind of thought it was more Quez Watkins could have made more of a play on the ball. But I thought offensively they moved the ball well. I did not think as much in real time, and then after the pod of how much I disagreed with the spike. And I'm glad you asked Sirianni about it on Monday.
Yeah, we should talk about this.
And Sirianni said it was your question. So actually
no, you say you're talking. Go ahead.
So Sirianni said that they wanted to preserve that timeout because it gives them more. They can work more of the field. They can throw the ball into the middle of the field. And Bo had a really good follow up and said, "What about just running a play as opposed to spiking it?" And he said a play would take off 8 to 10 seconds off the clock. The spike just takes 1 second. I think this is what you prepare for that situation. You prepare for hurry up situations that, okay, if you're in this spot, you have a first down, you don't want to, this is the play you're going to run, and you have it and you get to it quickly. And you have a chance to get productive yards there, as opposed, and then Minshew's told, if nothing's there, throw it away. But you have a chance to get productive yards in that situation. So I don't know if that was a function of a backup quarterback, but as I watched it back, I said, Bo's right. They really should have spiked the ball. Oh, I'm sorry. They should not have spiked the ball here because they really didn't have clean plays there. I didn't think they.
It was also annoying because they spiked the ball, but then didn't take advantage of the fact that they still had the middle of the field and a timeout. Right? They just, they called free. No, I mean there was pressure on those plays, but
I keep seeing responses from fans that, well, then they shouldn't have thrown the ball to the end zone 3 times. They did not, by the way. The first down, the second down play, the first pass to Devonte, I don't know if that was the first read there. I mean, there were intermediate routes on the play. The third down play, Minshew just threw it away. He was under pressure. He threw it away. And then fourth down, he just had to do something there. So it wasn't like they took 3 shots at the end zone, but they could have and should have done better in that situation. I didn't think they ran the ball well. I don't know if that was because of the Cowboys defense or because the lack of threat from Jalen, but certainly not having Jalen affects the running game. And then I have a lot of defense takes too, as you can imagine, but I'll pass it over to you.
What was your take on the spike, Sheil?
I would agree with you. Yeah, I think that ideally you have something ready there where you don't have to waste a down. They obviously could have used an extra down there. I don't know what goes into, I mean, I'm with you, Zach. I mean, you would think that would go into the prep of it. Like, you know, if when you're practicing 2 minute, now you're playing with the backup quarterback. So maybe you don't get, maybe if it's Hurts, you don't spike it there, but yeah.
And I really think that they wouldn't have, I really think that Hurts would cause a play there.
Yeah. Well, I was with you. I think you guys said it after the game. I think those two situations really, you can look at the final numbers and say 40 yards and 25 first downs. That's a great performance for a backup. But those situations I thought really spoke to the different. I mean, Minshew was just like, he was terrified to take a sack end of the first half. I mean, he was just getting the ball and throwing it out of bounds. And then those last 4 plays also, I mean, I think Hurts is buying time there, getting away from pressure and probably able to at least pick up a first down, I would say. Whether he scores or not, I think he probably does score given what we've seen this year. But the calmness of a Hurts, which we joked about last year, like, is this being overdone? And then this year we're like, all right, I guess it wasn't overdone. Yeah, this guy's really good and really calm. It really stuck out, I thought, in those two possessions there when you saw, I don't want to say panicked, is probably unfair for Minshew, but certainly a different feel to it. Yes, jittery.
Yeah. The Quez stuff, I'm not surprised, but I guess I'm like a little bit taken aback at, it seems like the level of like blame that is being placed on him for like the reason they lost the game is because of Quez Watkins. He should like, they shouldn't be throwing to him so much to begin with. And yeah, he should have definitely done a better job especially on that second interception, I thought. But like, he's not the reason that they lost the game. Let's calm down a little bit.
You can quibble with the usage there too. I mean, that's the first time he's been targeted on a slant all year long was that play. And then the other one, it's the middle of the field. I mean, still, he should have done a better job. You don't want to make like too many excuses for him, but I don't know that that's how you want to see Quez Watkins being used.
It's not his fault he's Quez Watkins.
Yeah, I agree. Right, yeah, I mean, play strength is going to be an issue for Quez Watkins, so don't put him in situations where his play strength has to be a non-issue. I mean, you could certainly argue that.
I think otherwise on offense, Zach, I think if Gardner Minshew plays again this week, I'm curious to see if he makes, if he looks a little bit more calm and gets those jitters behind him. I would expect that he will play a little bit better. I mean, it's also a defense that's also sort of mediocre at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, my biggest gripe with the game plan, and I think they called a bunch of stuff for Goddard and it just didn't happen.
I was about to say that.
Based on, the way the plays developed. But I mean, Goddard looked awesome on those targets that he had. Like, get him the ball.
Yeah,
they couldn't cover him. Yeah, I mean, he should have had a. You're right. Again, it's hard to like kill them too much when they have 440 yards with a backup quarterback on the road against the Cowboys. But yes, I mean, they could not cover Goddard, man coverage, height, whatever. He was killing them. So that's a good sign going forward, if nothing else, for them, that he looks very healthy.
But it's an interesting juxtaposition to, it looked like the Cowboys were really trying to get, or take advantage of the middle of the field for the Eagles defense, even with their tight ends. Like they hadn't used Dalton Schultz as productively in recent weeks as they did against the Eagles. I know Schultz didn't have a huge game. What do you have? 4 catches?
He had the one big catch against Edwards, right?
Yeah, I think 3 catches, 4 targets, 43 yards. But they, as Shield just said, they got him isolated on Edwards, and it really seemed like they were attacking the linebackers, they were attacking the safeties, they were attacking the slot corner when Devonte went down. And so it was very much targeted to that middle of the field, and the Eagles can do the same thing with Goddard. Goddard is significantly better than Dalton Schultz. Now, I understand the middle of the field for the Cowboys is probably better than the middle of the field for the Eagles, but still, that's something that I noticed. And then, we can get to defense because third downs were bad. And that's what jumps out to me. Overall, there was a lot of 5-man fronts, right? It really seemed like they were trying to take, take the running game out of the game. You're worried about Pollard. You're worried about Zeke Elliott. And we talked on the last show. We talked this time last week about how what the Cowboys can do is they can get you in the third and manageable better than Tennessee can, better than Chicago can. And it actually didn't work that way. Like when Dallas was converting, they were converting these third and long. Bless you. Yeah, Dallas was converting.
Thank you.
These that was an appropriate bless you. Yeah. Dallas was converting these third and long situations. And so that struck me as interesting how that worked out. The Eagles really tried to get them in the known pass by focusing so much on stopping the run. And they trust their 5-man fronts, but it left them exposed in the middle of the field. I think you really saw the absence of Maddox. I mean, the 3rd and 30 was inexcusable. I thought the 3rd and 13 touchdown was inexcusable. But I think what you also saw is like this pass rush is really good. And there's so many quality rushes that Reddick gets, so many quality rushes that Sweat gets. I know early on they could have had more, but that's what jumped out to me is the amount of 5-man fronts that they played and then the way that Dallas was really targeting the middle of the field.
Well, two things I'd like to say about that. One is like the pass rush, looked good, but you also saw the limitation of like what having a good pass rush can mean against a good quarterback. And I know that Sheila has been banging this drum. Like the first time they've played a really good quarterback basically all year, and he carved him up. Even though he was under pressure, it didn't matter sometimes, especially on 3rd downs. And then on the 3rd and 30, it was interesting. I asked Jonathan Gannon about this at the press conference. You know, they're in 3rd and 30. They're in dime, which means that Kaiser White is the linebacker, not TJ Edwards. And, you know, Josiah Scott said after the game that he didn't get the call until late. Mm-hmm. And I think there is something to the mechanics of that because Gannon said that, TJ relays the call as he's going off the field to Kaiser White, and then Kaiser White has to give the call to the guys. And so, like, I just don't understand why on 3rd and 30 you're calling this disguise that relies on Josiah Scott being, you know, who is not prepared to start. You know, he's started games over the course of the season and been okay, but you're relying on him to be the deep safety there. On 3rd and 30, like, I'm sure he wants that call back, but what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know what Jonathan was thinking there. I haven't, but my guess is that they thought that was a ripe spot for a takeaway, right? That now I know you can't
takeaway. You're 3rd and 30. Even if they punt, you're going to get good field position. Like,
I agree. I mean, but look, at that point, you're probably thinking Dak's going to throw the ball up, and you have a chance to take the ball away. But you're absolutely right. Like they're gonna the only thing the one thing you can't do in that situation. Well, I guess 2 things. You can't have a penalty. You can't have like an illegal contact penalty.
They had on 4th down with Darius Slay earlier.
Yeah. You can't have the penalty, and you can't let them get behind you. Everything else is everything else is fine. You just can't do those 2 things.
I mean, TJ Edwards could have just walked to Tampa. He could have just yelled Tampa 2. It didn't matter. Like, who would have known what the
tell him what the call is.
Get back there. Yeah, get back there. There should be no miscommunication. I mean, I heard his answer in the press conference to you guys, and I thought that. I mean,
but he said we learned something as if that really did sort of matter on that play.
He said what?
We learned something from that game about that.
Yeah.
So.
It's not like this is the first game they played dime. I mean, no. That didn't. Yeah.
Don't disguise on 3rd and 30. Just chill out.
I think one small takeaway that I had from rewatching the defense live, I thought that they were like really picking on Blankenship, and that I don't think that was the case. Like I actually thought that he was pretty good in this game, and I think they can feel pretty good about like now CJ Gardner-Johnson. It doesn't seem like he's going to play this week. But even when he comes back, I do think that their best defense is Gardner-Johnson at nickel and leave Reed Blankenship on the field. I think Blankenship has sort of earned that.
I do think they were picking on Josiah, though.
Yes, right. Yeah. But watching live when you don't – now, I wasn't at the game like you were, so I was watching the TV copy. So I thought it was like a little bit of both, and I don't think that was the case.
But I'm going to push back. I don't know if Shield just said this or if Bo said this, that this was the first good quarterback they faced, right? Like I know they haven't faced the AFC West like they did last year, but I mean, Kirk Cousins is playing well this year, right? I mean, and
did you see him in that game though?
What's that?
In that week 2 game, I mean, he looked like
because of the Eagles' defense is what I'm saying. Right. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's a 2-time MVP. We can put some.
I mean, they scored 33 though, the Packers, right? On them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm saying like it's not like all of a sudden. Okay, so my point is there's this idea, well, Dak Prescott did this. So therefore, it's the 2021 Eagles that couldn't stop good quarterbacks, right? And again, Shields he's probably exhausted by the Jonathan Gannon discussion. I don't know if it's a vocal minority.
Secretly, not so secretly rooting for this. So
I don't know if it's a vocal. I don't know if it's a vocal minority or if it's representative of the fan base, but like they're number one in the NFL this year in pass defense. Even though they're playing with leads, that doesn't happen very often. They're on a historic pace in terms of sacks, okay, without like blitzing at the rate of teams that you would think would.
But doesn't that by
that
definition
backs
make
up it's Howie
thing?
Roseman? Yeah, it's just
Right.
got
Yeah.
4-man rush, throw them out there, and they're going to win their battles. I mean, I don't need to go too deep. I think the defense is better. Gannon has been better this year. I think last year it was a competent quarterback. You're right. Last year they faced Kirk Cousins. He's completing 90% of his passes against them. So they are better. There's no doubt about it. Just when you look at, the expectations are now Super Bowl. And my concern would be when they face a good quarterback, I would say top 8, top 10. Dak Prescott, you're not going to face the Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. We could name 8 to 10 guys. I think those guys more often than not would probably carve them up, but you're in the NFC. So it could be Dak Prescott might be the only guy you face who falls into that category and you still get to the Super Bowl. So I think the defense has been better. I don't think the defense, I think Gannon is fine. I think I will not be, if he gets a head coaching job and they replace him in the offseason, it will not be high on my list of concerns that they're not going to be as well coached of a defense in 2023. I know others disagree with that. That's fine. Just looking at that third, would the defense be better or worse if Jim Schwartz was coaching this group? I think the defense would be better with Jim Schwartz. I would have more confidence. For defensive coordinators, to me, it's if the talent is bad and you're doing more with less, which we've talked about before, then I can say, then it looks to me like, all right, that coordinator's doing a good job. And then if it's a very talented defense and you're just on like a 49ers level, or you're coming up with game plans against great quarterbacks where you're going, wow, they really flustered this guy who carves up the entire league. That's kind of how I would judge it. Now, to Gannon's defense, they haven't had like a lot of opportunities to do that this year, just because they faced, I think, the second easiest schedule of opposing offenses. But so we just have to make a guess. How would you feel if they did face great quarterbacks? Would you have confidence or would you not have confidence? And I would say I would be concerned about how the defense would be able to match wits with a guy like Prescott or Mahomes or Burrow or Allen or maybe 3 or 4 other guys.
So I don't think it's the opposing quarterback that they face as much as the opposing game plan. And what I mean by that is I think Dan Orlovsky had that tweet earlier this week where if they face a Kyle Shanahan Kyle Shanahan offense, Kyle Shanahan's just going to pick on the middle of the field. And I keep saying like that's where they are susceptible, is the middle of the field. I thought, now if and when I should say when, I believe Gardner-Johnson's going to be back. Gardner-Johnson's return changes that. But now if you're down Maddox and Gardner-Johnson's playing the slot, and I heard what Bo just said about Reed Blankenship, but that's where this team's susceptible. Every team has a potential Achilles heel, and I think their Achilles heel is in the middle on passing downs.
I think you are banking on the defensive line dominating.
Sure.
That's how they beat a great team. The
that worked in
line
2017, right? So
which could happen.
That's fine.
But with they're picking on Josiah Scott, it's true, but it's like they were just putting CeeDee Lamb in the slot. Like they didn't have to, they didn't have to be staying up all night to come up with a way to dictate that matchup. And so like there are times where you go, well, why don't they do something else there? This is not going to be a good matchup for them. Scott versus Lamb in the slot. And to their credit, the second half they did it. The Eagles did adjust. I don't buy any of the talk about they were vanilla or saving stuff because they're going to face them in the playoffs. They did adjust in the second half, and they had some really good snaps on third down, playing man coverage or doubling CeeDee Lamb. At that point, it was kind of like too little, too late. And Prescott was fantastic in the game. He made some awesome plays.
Exactly. Like the play rolling to his right.
Touchdown.
Touchdown. But
that was awesome.
Some of these passes, you just can't stop.
I agree.
Right?
I think that's
Avonte Maddox gets that sack there. on it's
Right.
it's a different conversation. So
Yeah, and the sack, the Hassan Reddick sack, if that ball just bounces a little differently.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
By the way, Reddick he's just like so good that I thought
I
he was
wanted to talk about this. So today was the day in the locker room. This happens every year when the people from the NFL Network come with the top 100 lists.
NFL films come. Yeah.
NFL films rather, and so everybody is they're given these lists. I think they have 20 names to fill out, and so it's like a fun day in the locker room because people are like talking back and forth. Who are you putting? Hassan was like, and mostly they're like, let's make sure we get our teammates on here. But Hassan was a name that was coming up a lot. They really appreciate what he brings to that defense.
I thought you meant by himself. Like he was like, you better get my name on there.
Well, Brandon Graham did put himself number 1, which I appreciated. There was a funny my favorite part was the AJ Brown, Devonte Smith. They were like doing it sort of like very talking it through with each other. I saw most people putting Jalen Hurts number 1. But they had Hurts, they had Mahomes, they had the other quarterbacks, and they were what you do notice is like guys will go with their position group. So it's like teammates and the best players at your position group. But it was fun, but those two guys were taking it seriously. AJ was like really thinking like, I think I'm going to be top 15. I think I got top 15. That's what he's hoping for. So there you go.
So quick Hassan Reddick nugget, a quick Hassan Reddick nugget here. I was going to save it for what I'm going to write, but at some point, but I think this is interesting podcast.
EJ, close your ears wherever you are.
So I asked him, like going into the year, did he have a target for sacks? And he said he said 15, and I'm like, 15? Do you really think that was realistic? And he like looked at he looked like he was about to punch me. Like, yeah, that's realistic, right? And he explained why 15. And he was like,
your goal's high. That seems like a reasonable goal.
Yeah, so no, he was explaining to me,
right?
And it was and like he had these numbers down. Like you look at the amount of players who get between 8 and 10 sacks. He's like, and there is like, and that's good, right? And then he's like, and you look at like 11 to like 14 sacks or whatever. He's like, but the amount of players who are 15 and higher, and like he had like the number or close to it.
I respect
and he's
that.
He's like, that's like when you're really elite. And EJ. And so, and it was really well thought out. And it's fascinating because like, and this is no disrespect to Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox or Josh, the pass rushers. Like Brandon Graham's never had a double-digit sack season, and he's viewed as a really good player. Fletcher Cox, I know it's different from the interior, has had 1 double-digit sack season, and he's one of he might be the best Eagle of the last like 25 years or whatever, right? What Hassan Reddick's doing now at 14 sacks, 2 games to go, maybe only 1 game to go. But he's like far exceeded what I thought. I thought if he reached 10 sacks, it was going to be a good year. To be at 14 sacks and I think tied or first in the league in strip sacks or forced fumbles. He's been such a difference maker. He's been exactly what they could have wanted.
Marissa, how much time do you block out? Like when you're like, I have a BWF record at 8:00 on Thursday. Is there like, and Michael's like, well, we were going to watch so-and-so, or, you wanted to do something afterwards. Like in your head, what time are you saying, well, maybe I'll get to it at this time?
8:00. It's like the rest of my evening is Birds with Friends. It's like, good night. See you tomorrow.
I told Emily we would watch.
I wouldn't make it any other way.
Yeah. I told Emily we would watch the finale of Fleischman is in Trouble tonight, and she's like, "There's no way I'm gonna be up when you."
I tried. I didn't tell you she was coming on, but I did try to like warn you. Like this is going to be a long episode. I did. You did. I said that like several.
I thought
times.
You were saying Emily was going to come on. I was excited about that.
Yeah, now we're talking.
So you're all caught up, Zach. Huh? We're in the middle of that show.
Okay.
Interesting story. The author Taffy
Yeah.
How do you pronounce her? Do you know how you pronounce her last?
Akbar. I
yeah.
have to look at it.
So she came to Seattle to do a Russell Wilson story when I was covering the Seahawks. She had never like covered a sport, anything with sports before. I guess they hired her to do this like freelance piece. And it was funny, like explaining to her how weird stuff was. She's like, you just like go in the locker room when they're changing. And she's like, all this food is just like free in the press box. Like you have a great job here. So after that, I started following her work. Like I mentioned, I read the book a couple years ago, which was fantastic. And we're in the middle of watching that now as well, though we're not at the
it's a depressing show.
Seth Wickersham cameo, by the way.
I saw that.
Yeah, how about him?
Yeah.
I think he had the Andrew Luck story and the cameo in like a 48-hour span. I'm like, this guy is on top of the world. Yeah. The other question I had for Marissa was on the Andrew Luck. Now, did you work heavily? You didn't
Zach
work on the
gives me way too much
That's what
credit
I
for
was going to
that.
bring up to Zach. Zach, every time. Every time you bring up Luck, and you go, which Marissa did a great job on. And I'm like, Marissa has done a million. I don't think Marissa did.
I wish I could say I had more of a role in that. Basically like the trailer stuff.
Throw her crumbs.
Yeah, that was
so
my
Shield's
coworker.
point here. So Shield's point here is that Marissa didn't do it.
I thought it was just funny back and forth because you mention it every time. And I think she said before, but maybe not. Maybe she.
No, I got to give credit to my coworker, Andrew Schleck, because he crushed that. But I always appreciate Zach trying to, give a shout out. So nothing against Zach on that.
Zach's like, get his ass out of here.
No, this is
cut his mic.
This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to pass the credit.
I have a question for the National Reporter.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's
first.
You mean Bo, the power rankings, right?
I mean, Zach, what is your record against the spread? Are you at 60% still, or
over
something?
60%?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I hope you're putting this up. Well, no, you can't.
Don't look at the money line picks.
And what are you at, Shield?
I have to pick every game. I mean, that's a tougher. I don't know. I'm 13 over 500. I think I've had a bad
30
couple
running,
of weeks here.
right?
Yes, correct.
No big deal. Give you a little credit for that.
I'm kind of over it. I don't know. I'm ready to hang it up, but we'll see.
Oh, you got to write one thing a week, and you're ready to stop writing.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that why he left?
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
What else?
Right? Yeah.
Scott
Marissa had a
Turner.
question.
Oh, I mean, you had a thing where you on the preview
I
show.
thought Marissa had a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
right.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, Marissa, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you what has been the craziest storyline you think so far across the NFL this year? It's been pretty wild. Like, is it Russell Wilson? Is it what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think as you were saying that. I would think it's Russell Wilson. I mean, I thought his floor was going to be mediocrity and they might win 7 or 8 games and it doesn't work out. I didn't think he was going to turn into the worst quarterback in the NFL with teammates fighting each other in week 17 before the coach got fired. I did not anticipate that happening. So yeah, I mean, the Seahawks got out, it looks like, at the exact right time. That was definitely the thing I was most wrong about going into the season.
How much does this change your retrospective opinion of the Russell Wilson era, having been there? Do you think this is information that negatively affects how good he was during that time?
It does negatively affect his legacy, and I think it's unfair because now no one will even admit that he was a good player at any time. Like, you say that, and it would probably be a controversial or hot take, but I watched him. He was a really good player for like a decade on a Hall of Fame trajectory. So I don't know what the percentage is, like 2-3%. I have no idea what it is that he bounces back to, at least mediocrity. I mean, I don't think you just forget completely how to play, but it has been UGL. Well, you ain't got no alibi this year.
All right, go ahead. What was your Scott Turner thing?
Well, on Friday, you said a thing like before the first Commanders game, like you like a Scott Turner, and then after the game, you gave Scott Turner your grouse. And you're like, people are talking up Scott Turner. Now, Zach, you did call him out a little bit. Zach looks a little checked out. What is it? Is Zach watching? Is Zach watching Cowboys Titans? What's the score, Zach?
Move here?
What's
You're
the
talking
score?
about Scott Turner. I heard everything that you said. No,
okay.
I was responding to a text from my sister. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. There you go. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's great.
Okay, I'm just making sure your sister. I don't know. You look very serious, and you said you responded to a text from your sister. I want to make sure your sister's okay. Don't look at me like I'm the bad guy. Yeesh. So you did call Bo out a little bit for it, but I feel like you didn't go far enough.
I think in my saying of that, I think
you say that about most things on the pod.
I said that, but that I was taking other people's opinion too seriously.
Yeah, but then you're pulling a testator.
No, I'm not pulling a testator. I'm not stealing other people's work.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Continue.
What do you guys think
next?
about how do you guys feel about what's your gut check on the Lane Johnson situation? How much do you feel like this negatively affects?
Well, I was going to ask you. So is it definitely going to be Jack Driscoll playing right tackle, you think?
That's what I think it's going to be. I don't expect them to shake up the line in two spots. I think first off, Jordan Mailata is at a different stage of his career than he was last year. He's there like left. He only plays left tackle now, right? And you have to think when the injury occurred last year, Jordan and Dillard had just basically had this competition, right? Jordan had been taking snaps on both sides at times, right? Like Jordan Mailata is only a left tackle. Now he can play right, but he's only taken left tackle snaps this year, basically. And I think Jack Driscoll, they like him, they trust him. It's very Halapoulivaati Vaitai-esque in that, right? He's their backup, and that's in multiple spots, but in that spot. Now, if Lane's going to be back, so you're looking at a Band-Aid as maybe, yeah. He's going to try. But this is a huge loss. Like Lane Johnson is so good, and that's not like Captain Obvious here, right? And you can cite the numbers with him or without him. I'm gonna pull something up real quick, and this is a credit to Aaron Reese, okay, from The Athletic,
Loving Aaron Reese,
who does a really good job giving us true media numbers each week, okay. And this is one that jumped out to me because we talk often about the Eagles' win-loss record when he's in the lineup versus out of the lineup, and you say, all right, well, does that really, is winning and losing an offensive line stat for Michael Dunn?
So he's he's like a one-man ESPN stats and information.
Yeah,
like he's giving you packets each week on the games.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, man, talk about MBN.
Eagles,
God forbid you have to log into a true media. Jeez,
Eagles splits with and without Lane Johnson last season. Okay, with him, 34% pressure rate allowed, 2.43 yards before contact per carry. Without him, 46.7 pressure rate allowed, 1.6 yards before contact per carry.
What's the time frame for this? His career?
No, last season.
Last season. Sorry,
just last season. Which, by the way, is the only thing Nick Sirianni cares about. Nick Sirianni was like, yeah, don't tell me anything about Lane Johnson before I was here. It's just last season. But that says something. When Lane Johnson was not in the lineup last year, they were 32nd in the league in pressure rate allowed. Okay. When Lane Johnson was in the lineup last year, they were first in the league in yards before contact per carry. 1 point, so what it says to me is that's data-driven evidence to show you he is so important to this team.
I think we should also, you can contextualize that we remember when he was out last year, it was towards the end of that stretch of them being very bad. His first game back was the Lions game when they turned things on and became a more run-heavy team. So you would imagine that their pressure rate is going to go way down when they're running the ball much more. But our eye test also passes up the fact that, no Lane Johnson makes a big deal. And they do, they just leave him on an island. And I don't know if they're going to do that with Jack Driscoll or, whoever it is, if it's Andre Dillard. I do. My guess is that it will be Driscoll just because he's been the next man up at right tackle. We've seen it. That is sort of Stout's MO. Give that guy a shot. We'll see how it goes. I imagine, if he has a horrific game, then maybe they'll go back to the drawing board and think about something for the playoffs if Lane is not ready. But you also have to think about long-term, replacing Lane Johnson is probably going to be very high on Howie Roseman's, offseason checklist. I think with that first round pick or one of them, that's a legit possibility. But also Driscoll's under contract for another year. Dillard is not, it makes sense to sort of see how he fares as a starter.
Very quick plug there. We had a mock draft, top 10 mock draft on The Athletic today, where the beat writers for the respective teams were making the picks. Eagles were drafting 10. And when I was on the board, actually, every offensive tackle was available. And so I was very tempted to go with the top offensive tackle in the draft, whether you think that's Paris Johnson Jr., whether you think that's Peter Skorinski. What I went with the defensive tackle, Brian Bruzzi, from Clemson, but I was tempted to go offensive tackle for the reason Bo mentioned.
Let me hit you with the big picture question.
Not draft related? No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
What do you think of Sirianni? Like, do you think is Sirianni going to be like is he like Andy Reid? Like, is he going to be here for 10 years and they're going to be contending for Super Bowls? Do you think he has a shelf life? Is he overrated? Is he underrated? Are you impressed? I mean, look at like they're going to probably be the 1 seed. I mean, they're having one of the best seasons in franchise history with a unheralded quarterback coming into the season. Every time they get hit with something, they have a counter to it. They adjust. The players seem to like him. I don't know. Well, you've covered him from day one since he arrived on the scene. You saw the train wreck that was 2020 before he was there, and you've seen this season. Like, how bullish are you on Sirianni as the person who's like driving this thing, especially all this talk? It's like, I can't stand all the talk about every assistant is getting a head coaching job this time of year. Like, every assistant in the NFL is not going to get a head coaching job this year. There are only so many openings, but sorry, that's besides the point. The question.
So Zach and I were talking a little bit about this today. And I have,
but yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say anything you said.
And Zach said, I think he's sorry.
Zach said the guy is a goose.
Yeah.
I think that he's a little bit underrated at the moment in terms of like the success that they've had and the credit that's being allocated to like the triumvirate of him and Howie and Jalen Hurts. He's getting the least amount of credit, which I think he probably deserves. But I think one thing that is maybe underrated about Sirianni is his impact as like an offensive mind.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the connection, right? And he does a great job with the connection. Everybody talks about it. There's a genuineness to it that matters. Guys can tell if you're faking it. But just because he handed off the play calling to Shane Steichen does not mean that he is not still like putting together the game plans. This is his offense. This is still his design. I think he maybe doesn't get enough credit for that. My answer to like how good is he going to be here for a long time? I think matters. Like, it depends a lot on, he may not lose so many guys from his staff this year, like, how does he refill the staff? I think that is like a really important question that a lot of guys get wrong, and is a really difficult thing. Like, you plan your whole life for getting your job. You got your guys that you want to bring in, but that's awesome. What happens when you got to backfill and you're not an up and coming coach anymore? You're not in like the you don't know all the other good up and coming coaches.
Yeah,
and
but
so,
these aren't.
Are you just bringing in Marcus Brady? Like, I don't know.
But these aren't all his coaches, right? I mean, I'm sure Howie is saying, how about call this guy, check in with this guy? I mean, did Sirianni, are all these guys Sirianni had outlined? Like, is this an incredible staff, or is it like...
Well, yeah, that's a good question.
Well, that's what happened with Doug,
things
right?
get stale. Like, I mean, that is what happened with Doug.
Yeah. And Andy, to a certain extent, right?
Yeah,
and
Andy was, Andy was a little
later on. And you're seeing Belichick now deal with it, right?
Right, but now Andy then and Belichick now are like,
I know,
they were
I'm
there
just
for
saying
20 years. Like,
and even with Doug, I mean, Doug's offense right now is better than any Eagles offense he coached than the 2017, if you look at it statistically. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Nick's a really good coach. I think he's and by the way, I give Jeffrey Lurie a lot of credit because, like, Lurie, whether it's the first choice or the fifth choice, however you want to frame it, he's hiring coaches that win, right? And
he's got a better track record than anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Who has had to hire that many people? Yeah,
and he saw something in Sirianni. Sirianni is really good with the players. I think he's really good with the offense. As Bo said, so much attention gets paid to play calling, and I think not enough attention gets paid to game planning, right? So take the touchdown that Devonte Smith scored in both games, frankly, right? In both games against the Cowboys, that the play design happens during the play design happens on Monday and Tuesday. The play call happens on Sunday, right? Or in this case, Saturday. But the play design happens during the week. And Sirianni really is involved and oversees and enjoys the game planning aspect of it, even if he's not calling plays. I think that the team is very prepared situationally, and that's a reflection of the head coach. And Sirianni has spoken at length about his situational meetings that he has. I believe they're Saturday mornings where they go over all these things that occurred during the week and in the NFL, and he gets tested for these situations. I believe Jason Kelsey said on his podcast that Sirianni's more prepared situationally than any coach he's had or something of that nature. And I just think that he knows how to manage a locker room. Last year showed me a lot. When it was not. Now we were not in the locker room, so we don't know all the inner workings. But when you have a first-year coach and you're 2-5, 3-5, and to turn around and make the playoffs, and then to come back this year and be 13-2, like 13-2 is ridiculously good. And a lot of the credit goes to Sirianni. So I do think the sustainability of a coach has to do a lot with refilling your staff and making sure you're staying fresh and you're not 2 years behind, because sometimes, like, if you're so attached to what you did in 2022, that might not work in 2024, right? So you have to continue to reinvent yourself. But I think Sirianni's a really good coach who probably doesn't get enough credit because of all the credit going to the way Jalen's playing as the MVP, as an MVP candidate, and the way that Howie Roseman has assembled this roster. If I was picking coach of the year right now, and even probably in 2 weeks, like, to me, it's Nick Sirianni. His team's outperformed what was expected of them, and he's done a really good job.
Okay. Sheila, here's a question for you. If you were doing power rankings of the 32 teams in the NFL, where would you rank the Eagles at this very moment?
Now, do you have a certain criteria? I mean, I would usually do a power rankings if these two teams met on a neutral field at this point in time. Who do I think would win? So you could do it. I mean, if you did it by like body of work, they have a strong case, I think, to be one. I would still probably put them at 3 behind the Chiefs and the Bills,
but ahead of the Bengals.
I think so. Although I would have to think about that one. I do love the Bengals.
Okay. That's fair.
Sure, these power rankings are killing it, man. I mean, Bo's doing such a good job.
The buzz. I've never seen so much buzz for power rankings before.
Get out of here.
I at least get one comment a week on the power rankings.
Really?
Yeah.
From who?
Where I see something. You don't need to know who I talk to. What do you think? Think I'm going to be an open book all of a sudden?
I hope so.
Ian book?
Yeah, Marissa and I have access to the data. I mean, it's like it's just in cement. Number one, Bo Wulf, every single week. Yeah.
What did the Capade kids get for Christmas, Sheila?
Now you need to start tweeting it. I mean, if you're hitting 60%, over 60% of your picks against the spread, I mean, the Athletic needs to be tweeting out a link with the record in it. If I was 60% over on my picks, I mean, I would have that record up there. I already have the record up there. Anyway, I mean, that's better than professional sports bettors hit what, like 54%? That's what you need to like make a profit? Over 60%. Yeah,
you're only as good as your next week, right? So,
well, no, not really.
So now, are you doing what I do on Sundays? Are you just looking at those games, going like, "Oh God, come on! I don't want to look like an idiot. My picks are out there.
These kill me. These
takes over your Sundays."
And
my favorite are the player props, because Zach he does one player prop a week, and so he's checking a box score like I need another TJ Hawkinson catch.
I do take if it has, and it's funny because like when they presented it, when they asked me to do it, and it was I'll give some behind the scenes here. I was like, I'm interested, but
this
I'm
is
very
live, Zach. Just
I said I'm very concerned about my credibility if I don't do well. Like I haven't been in a situation where I've picked these games on the record, and my biggest concern is if I'm, like 5 games under 500 or 10 games under 500. And actually that's how we kind of agreed to, it was one of these things where I'm like, how about I do just, set games every week, the Monday night game, the Sunday night game, the premier Sunday afternoon game, an underdog against the money line, and then like a pick of the week and a player prop. And you're coming back for that, but also you're probably not going to be like 0-6 a lot of weeks, right? So it's not going to be a situation where I'm so far below 500. But yeah, the picks above against the spread have done decently. So hopefully it continues. Nice. Yep.
All right. Why don't we take a break? Come back. We got Swooper. I got a little twist that I think everybody's going to enjoy.
You can tell when you're using a cheap razor based on the nicks and the cuts and the irritation. And then there's the annoyance of subscription razors when you're waiting for the cartridges to arrive, or you can't believe how much you just spent on them. That's why you must meet Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer that has made parts for the International Space Station and Mars rover, and now they are bringing precision engineering to your shaving experience. Razor blades are like diving boards. The longer the board, the more wobble. The more wobble, the more nicks, cuts, and scrapes. A bad shave isn't a blade problem, it's an extension problem. By using aerospace-grade CNC machines, Henson makes metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches. That's less than the thickness of a human hair. That means a secure and stable blade with a vibration-free shave. And it gets better. The razor has built-in channels to evacuate hair and cream, which makes clogging virtually impossible. Seriously, Henson Shaving wants the best razor, not the best razor business. That means no plastic, no subscriptions, no proprietary blades. The Henson razor works with standard dual-edge blades to give you that old-school shave with the benefits of new-school tech. Once you own a Henson razor, it's only $3 to $5 per year to replace the blades. I'll admit that affordability is attractive to me. Only $5 a year in blades, that's a good sale right there. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that'll last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/birds to pick the razor for you and use code BIRDS and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just make sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com/birds and use code BIRDS. I need to admit that I always look forward to a good steak dinner, but I can't always go out and have a steak dinner. Then a package arrived at my door one day, and it was from Omaha Steaks, and I had that excitement I would have when I go to a great steakhouse. You can have that too, and you can gift that as well. Gift the best with the best steaks of your life from Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. Perfectly aged, tender, unforgettable, and guaranteed delicious. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together an assortment of various packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and use code BIRDS at checkout to get an additional $30 off your order. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away. Head to omahasteaks.com and use promo code BIRDS at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code BIRDS at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required.
All right, 2 quick things. One, and this was a request in the chat, the tennis guy, Bo, I thought there was a very easy solution for you for the tennis guy. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Dox him.
All right, so he put in a thing that said, "You give me the clip." He put in the thing that said, "What you canceled?"
I had a late cancellation, and by rule, the late cancellation is within 4 hours, and I had done it the afternoon before,
and that was inaccurate. So,
yeah,
but no one back checks it. He's just allowed to put that in for you.
Yeah, he is just allowed to put it in.
Okay, so you should have you should have said, if you don't take that out, I'm putting in you were a late cancellation. How you like that? That's going to be on your record, Skippy. Easy solution. No one thought of this. Why is everyone looking at me like I'm nuts here?
I took the long game.
Okay, what was the long game? Have you?
I won the title.
Yet? I know, but you didn't get to
These
whoop
rings.
him. You got to play him.
I don't need to play him. He couldn't get out of the first round. I do have to say,
you went out in the first round. You got to play him. You can crush him.
I have since seen him around.
Really?
Yeah.
What does he live around? How do you know?
I was waiting for you to share that, Bo. I wasn't going to volunteer it.
Marissa, next time, just volunteer.
I know. I was like, I don't know if this is an off the pod combo.
I don't know if it has like. I mean, the reach of Birds with Friends is enormous, and so one would imagine that it has made it back to him somehow. But I don't know. The first time I've seen him several times now. The first time I felt like there was a glint of recognition.
Okay. Just see him walking around town?
Yeah.
And you know what he looks like from what is he? He's got like a headshot on there?
Correct.
Okay. Well,
he's got we'll send it to you after the pod show.
Okay. Yeah. That would have been my solution. I mean, an eye for an eye.
Well, that's fair.
Zach will not agree.
Yeah, Zach was very anti. I think I brought up that possibility, and he was anti that. But yes.
No, listen. If that's what he's gonna do, you got to get back at him. What was the other thing I had? Oh, the day, Zach, you gave Bo all this credit for the day after. Like he came up with, listen, I was doing the day after when everyone was in their diapers. I mean, I came up with the day after on Birds 24/7 in 2013. We had to get an audience just to have a job the next year. The creator
he never gave me credit for inventing it.
I give him credit for doing it.
Oh, no. You were gassing him up. Big dog, this. I mean, I could have got a little shout out for that. And then I didn't like the comment about the Players Bowl. First of all, this was an old bit by Sheil Kapadia. I had a little more a little more respect would have been nice there about the player poll in the locker room there. And then Zach says, Coach Chip Kelly, if it ain't Amos Alonzo Stagg or whoever, then no, you can't have that attitude as a writer, as a reporter. Come on, that's a terrible attitude to have. You can come up with stuff no one's ever done before.
I agree, you can. I'm just saying
you should strive.
I'm just saying just because
you do.
Just because someone writes something one time doesn't mean
one time. What are you talking? I did it every year.
I know, but okay.
Finding a way to differentiate the Athletics coverage from its competitors.
I think he did it once at the Athletics.
Not a little bit.
So no one's doing it now. Bo can. Yeah. Bo picks it up and does it. But that's like saying just because.
So who do you give credit to for writing picks against the spread every week?
Well, that's a generic.
But it wasn't generic for the first person who did it.
Bo's got a point here.
Who was if I knew the first person was who did it?
What an original idea.
Then I would give them credit. Day after. Get out of here. All right. Someone asked in the chat, I did like Bo's Bill Clinton impersonation very much. I would say that would be Bo's top moment of 2022 as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so here's my idea for Swooper this week. We know that I have the lead 9-4-2. My idea here is that Sheil gets to join the bidding, and he gets the 24 turkeys with which to bid. And if
Sheil, just going to get to moderate here,
and if Sheil wins this week, he gets to choose someone to take a point away from.
Oh,
I mean, we know that would be you. That wouldn't even be a question.
Of course, it's going to be me, but that's why it's interesting. And so this way, we add a little chaotic element here. If you win, you have no submissions. But if you win this week, you can take a point away from me, and that will even things up a little bit as we get down towards the playoffs?
I mean, my preference would be to moderate, but if the people would prefer that, then that's what we could do. I think you need to have a bigger picture swooper conversation. I mean, there were times this year where it was very clear Z-Berm wanted this thing to end and was pretty much ready to walk off the set, which I understand. But, and then I know there are listeners who like it. Like you said, they play along on a Sunday, but you have to there's got to be a balance there. If the listener is feeling like Zach is completely miserable during this segment,
I'm not miserable. Please don't ever.
I mean, I
think there's also a certain segment that enjoys Zach being miserable. We have to.
Well, that's true. But I'm worried about Zach's mental health.
My mental health is very good.
Okay.
Although I wish we spoke more about the Eagles-Saints game this weekend. We really haven't gotten into the matchup at all.
But we can talk about it in our swooper.
Yeah, we can talk about it in our swooper, and we can talk about it in the Crystal Ball Eagle. Okay. All right. So I have 55 turkeys with which to bid.
That's
Zach
ridiculous.
has 29. Marissa has 16. Sheil has 24.
Wait, I have 24.
You have 24.
So,
now
you're still playing?
Yeah, I'm still playing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now the one hook for Shiel's turkeys is Shiel cannot spend future turkeys. If that's a Dennis submission, he doesn't have any future turkeys.
How's that gonna work?
He can only spend 24. So just know that before you get to the last one. All right, I'm gonna go first. And my first one here is, before the show, I sent Marissa 3 guesses at what Zach's proposals would be this week. So my first submission is that one of those 3 submissions will be correct, that I will correctly predict at least one of Zach's submissions.
It has to be exact, not like ballpark.
I'm going to let Marissa or the chat be the judge about whether it's a nail.
Okay. Whether at game time versus Taysom Hill rushing yards? Is that one of them?
I'm going to guess. I'm going to bid 2.
See, I don't have a lot of turkeys this week, but I can see these submissions from Bo, and I feel like I know Zach. So
you can see them. Oh, interesting.
I can see Bo's submissions of what he thinks Zach's submissions are going to be.
All right, so Bo and Marissa know what the submissions are.
What my guesses are, but we don't know what Zach's actually.
What your guesses are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I can say that like one of them is got a star and bolded in my mind. So I think this could happen, but I don't have a lot of turkeys. So
no, I don't want this one.
2 going once, 2 going twice. Sold to me.
Okay. Zach,
All right.
I hope change yours to obscure ones.
Marissa, what? No, you can't change.
I'm not changing it, but there is a theme this week.
Zach, you can do what you want. Don't listen to
Zach's ethics. Marissa will let you go next.
Okay.
There's a theme.
Okay.
Oh, theme.
The Eagles defense holds the Saints to less than 15 points.
Defense. Okay,
Now,
special teams.
Yeah, are we saying the Saints score fewer than 15
defense.
points?
It's very specifically worded. There's no ambiguity at all. Eagles defense.
Okay, so only offensive points count. But that means that what extra points count?
Extra points count. Yeah,
I was honestly taking it as the Saints score less than 15 points, but if we want to make it fun,
I think that's the right way to play it. Is
okay. So the Saints score less than 15 points.
Fewer.
15 or less. Fewer. Chill with his grammar police over here.
I know. Seriously, just tell him to shut up.
2.
Cut his mic off.
2.
3.
4.
I'll go 4.
Yeah, you can have it. 4.
5.
Hold on, it's not done yet.
I mean,
no, I'm saying we spoke at the same time.
Okay.
So she could. Yeah.
5.
5 going once.
5 going twice. Sold.
See, I thought I was going to get that. It was going to be the fastest swooper in the history of Birds with Friends. I was just going to go once, going twice, too late, next. But
Okay.
So I am up here.
All right, Zach.
Okay, so the theme this week, has to do with the college football playoffs on New Year's Eve. Okay, so every one of my swooper has to do with players and on the Eagles and the players participating in the New Year's Eve college football semifinals, because it's going to be fun to watch. Okay. So the first one is that A.J. Brown and Devonte Smith combine for more receiving yards than Ohio State's wide receiver duo of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, both of whom went over 1,000 yards this year as well. So Ohio State's 2,000-yard receivers and the Eagles' 2,000-yard receivers.
Good one.
One.
And so this is that we're bidding on whether the Eagles duo has more receiving yards than the Ohio State duo. You are muted now, Zach.
You muted yourself, Zach.
Receiving duo has on my air.
You're gonna
here.
If you want to
You're
hear
back.
more
You're
about
back.
the college football game and the prospects to be watching in all of those between TCU, Georgia, you can listen to Prospects to Pros with Andy Staples and Dane Brugler this week. Very interesting. So,
Great plug. Now, I wish you had listened to that before this, because each team is represented. Well, not each team. I only do 3 swoopers here, but 3 of the teams are represented in my swoopers. So there you go.
I like that, Zach, because it doesn't seem like it's going with what Bo submitted. So
yeah, good job, ZB.
And by the way, if you're doing some scouting for the Eagles, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is not on the board this year, of course, but make sure you check out Keely Ringo, the cornerback for Georgia, who is a fun guy to watch, and 6'2", 210, runs a 4.3 40.
Mushroom?
Keely Ringo, no, but he's a fun player and is a candidate for the Eagles
guys
in the first round. Okay.
Have you guys seen this? You guys seen this video of the Waffle House waitress?
Yes, catching the
chair and like parrying it to the side. I mean, moment of the year. I feel I've watched the video like 800 times by now. What an unbelievable thing! So good. I thought you guys would be in on this.
Sorry.
All right. 2,
3,
4,
5,
6.
What do you have? 59 turkeys, you said?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Left.
He rigged the game like 2 weeks ago,
know.
Sheil, where he didn't submit one, and then
I heard that.
Yeah, I didn't expect it going there. Now Georgia's
I
defense
thought, Marissa,
awesome.
you did a good job of you do a good job of calling him out as a cheater every week. I think it's good.
I mean, it's not really showing for me in the results, but I'll keep it up.
Yeah, we hear it. We hear it.
6 going once. 6 going twice. Wow, sold.
Okay.
What happens if I just hang on to my 2024 and don't bid? Nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sheil, you ready for these? Because Daniz brings the fire every week.
I often tune out, if I'm like washing dishes and it's one of those where like, do you need to pause and listen or just keep washing the dishes? And I love the Daniz. If I was participating, I thought it had a nice wrinkle to it, but my mind can't operate that quickly. But sorry.
Yeah.
I'll try,
that's
I'll
a problem. I'm reading these and trying to get them all
unfair.
correct. And then I get burned in the game. I mean, I'd probably still get burned. Let's be honest. It's a little over my head.
Completely unfair.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
All right. There's some colors on here. Okay. The item. The Eagles commit a number of turnovers less than or equal to the second highest bid for this item. All 4 players, privately write down their bids and then reveal them at the same time. The highest bidder wins the item and pays their own bid. The other 3 players do not pay anything. Note, even though the losers don't pay anything, their bids still matter because the item itself is based on all of the bids. The lower of the highest bid, the less valuable the item is for the winner. If there's a 2-way tie for the highest bid, flip a coin to determine who wins the item. Only the winner pays their bid. If there's a 3-way tie or 4-way tie, do a random drawing to determine who wins the item. Only the winner pays their bid.
And just one more time, the winner gets it's fewer turnovers than the second highest bid?
The Eagles commit a number of turnovers less than or equal to the second highest bid for this item.
Okay. You got this, Shield?
Do I have to? I have no idea, but I have a number. I'll just pick out here. I need to write this down, or I can just say it, or what?
Yeah, either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I never
3.
have paper.
Everybody ready?
Mhm.
3, 2, 0 for me.
3.
2 for Marissa and Zach. 3 for Shield. So Shield gets it for 3, and the Eagles have to commit fewer than 2 turnovers for Shield to get it.
No, all right.
Okay.
Fewer or equal to, he said, right?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, or equal to. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, I'm up. A former Saint touches the ball on a touchdown play.
Former
Saint.
touches the ball on a touchdown play.
So we've got CJ Gardner-Johnson, who
He's not gonna
probably
play.
is not going to play.
All right. I don't. So far, you're not selling me on it.
Zach, too, can you name the other ex-Saints on the Eagles roster?
Let me think here.
Is this necessary?
Boston Scott is one.
Boston Scott is one.
None of the wide receivers.
Ian Book in the chat.
Ian Book.
Ian Book
Ian
is
Book.
the other. I think that's pretty much all we got.
So this is on whether Boston Scott will score a touchdown.
Or Ian Book.
Well, I mean, all right. 1. What the hell is that one? Did you do this before? You thought Chauncey? I mean, what a weird Boston Scott or Ian Book.
2.
Oh my god. See,
Two
in
going once.
the dead time, you should be reading out Aunt Karen texts in here. There should be somebody doing
If she were to text right now, I would absolutely read it.
that. Okay.
2 going once. 2 going twice.
She's like Boston Scott
Full.
once got punched in the face in Little Rock, Arkansas.
All right. Marissa, you're up.
I feel like ZB is itching to get some Eagle Saints takes out there. I feel
Yeah.
like this disrupted. He probably prepared. He's got some takes.
I
You
did.
wanna fire
I did
some
prep
off?
for this show.
Let's
No,
hear it.
no. That's okay. That's okay.
Go ahead. Sprinkle them in.
I was going to frame it this way, which is if you look at the Saints defense, it's kind of different than what the Eagles have seen in the past 2 years, right? The Saints have come into this game against the Eagles with the top rush defense in the league the past 2 years or thereabouts, and the Eagles have run real well against them. And that was noteworthy 2 years ago in Jalen Hurts' first start. It was noteworthy last year when the Eagles ran all over the Saints, and the Saints were real stout coming into this game. The Eagles, assuming Jalen Hurts doesn't play, doesn't have that +1 in the running game. So you wonder how much of it had to do with the offensive line, how much of it had to do with the +1. But there is so much buttering up Dennis Allen from the Eagles, from Nick Sirianni this week. Jason, I know I'm probably colored by listening to Jason Kelsey's podcast last night, so it's like fresh in my mind.
Information-filled podcast. No,
But
it is
he-
a good podcast. I
Yeah,
like
but
listening to it.
he was going on about like when you play a Dennis Allen defense, these guys have killed Dennis Allen defenses,
Yeah.
right? Like Dennis Allen defenses have not been an impediment for this Eagles offense recently. And so, but their pass defense is better this year than it's been they're number 2 in the league this year, at least in passing yards allowed. The Eagles are number 1. So teams aren't passing the ball as effectively on them. I got to look up what the DVOA is there, but I'm real fascinated by the Eagles' run offense against this defense because that's where the Eagles they famously went into that game last year saying we can run on you even if you are the top ranked defense. And I think they like some of the matchups that they had there. And I'm curious if the absence of Lane Johnson and the potential absence of Jalen Hurts alters that game plan for the Eagles.
And that was a secondary, right? With I don't remember if any of these guys were injured, but Marshawn Lattimore and
Yep.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Malcolm Jenkins. It's a
Yep.
different group this year where you're probably more comfortable passing the ball if you need to pass the ball.
Now it sounds like Marshawn Lattimore might play in this game,
Oh, is that right?
right?
Okay.
He's been like tepidly practicing for a while now, but it seems like there's a chance that he plays. I guess that would change things a little bit, but they still got another receiver on the other side. So Oh, they like this Alontae Taylor guy.
Yeah, Tennessee, right?
Now you were queuing me up for my guy, Paulson Adebo type.
Oh yeah, he got
Now
so,
you know what Shield this
Sirianni.
is. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No, Sirianni this week. I don't know if he pulled a Zach Berman. That's hard. I take that back. I would never refer to myself in the third person. If he would,
Why not?
I just
Showed
didn't
off
know
his
how.
prodigious chest.
No, that's a weird comment. I was gonna say pulled a me, which is like a nod statement. I don't know if he was afraid that he would struggle with the pronunciation. Okay, but like sometimes he goes with numbers. Sometimes he goes with names. When he was talking about Paulson Adebo, he said the corner from Stanford. Okay, so it made me think that he didn't want to say the name because maybe he would struggle with Adebo. And I gotta say, like, I have written down here Emeka Egbuka, and I stumbled on the name. So I could have just said Ohio State's receiver, right? The one from, I think he's actually from Seattle. So I could have said where he's from growing up.
Shield, very quickly, the Saints team that the Eagles are playing this week, where are they from?
New Orleans.
Thank you.
Well, that's a place to go. New Orleans.
And by the way, I do have a piece up on The Athletic yesterday, and I'm sure our listeners are clued into this. But this is a really rare situation where the Eagles can clinch a number 1 seed and also almost effectively clinch a top 10 pick, right? Because if the Saints lose this game, they're gonna have that 9th loss, and it's gonna be hard to turn around from that. So.
All right, Marissa, I believe it's your submission.
Yeah. Okay. Nick Sirianni gets a Gatorade bath.
Ooh, good one.
Interessante Samuel.
That's a good one.
What day?
1.
Steven Means isn't walking through that door. Kamu
And I will say that this can be on the field or in the locker room if there is like immediate
caught on camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, should we count one of those like NCAA tournament things where the coach comes in and everyone like sprays with the water, or it's got to be like the Gatorade?
A jug. Gotta be a jug.
And then, see, I would have considered counting that.
I was with you, Marissa.
No,
They're
no
sticklers,
way.
but that's okay.
And one
But
interesting
I will say
variable
a water jug would count, I think.
Yeah, but it has to be the full jug. It can't be bottles that they spray.
Yes,
on.
I agree.
One interesting variable here is it's going to be unseasonably warm on Sunday, right? It's going to be pushing 60 degrees. So, sometimes you don't want to pour the Gatorade when it's like 5 degrees outside. This might be more Gatorade pushing temperature.
He
this is
may
a good
do
one.
it on himself, I could say. Stands up on the bench, grabs a thing. I mean, he's kind of wild after some of these games.
Yeah. I don't think
he pours it on Dom.
I don't think that would go over well.
He's fired the next day. I'll say 2.
I'm out.
I'm out here. I think
it's
it's going to be very much like
in there.
Yeah, we haven't accomplished anything yet type of thing.
1 seed, so maybe.
Yeah.
2 going once. 2 going twice. Wow. I'll take it. Sold.
Okay.
Who's up? Come on. No dead air.
Zach.
Okay. I'm up here. Shields boy Max Duggan is involved in this one here. TCU's quarterback. This one here.
I did not have Max Duggan on my list.
Eagles quarterbacks. The Eagles starting quarterback. Let's frame it that way. The Eagles starting quarterback, whoever it is, just the starter, throws for more passing yards than Max Duggan does against Michigan.
1,
2,
3,
4,
5.
I like these, Zach. These are fun because you got to watch both games.
Yes. I'm sure that's what Bo's doing on New Year's
You don't
Eve.
have to watch both games. You just 5 going once. 5 going twice. Zach, you're muted again. Do you want to bid? No, he does not want to bid. Sold to me. Eagles starting quarterback more than Max Duggan. All right. You ready for Denise?
Okay.
Oh boy.
I've got 33 turkeys left. Zach has 29. Marissa has 16. Sheila has 21.
Okay. Gardner Minshew has fewer throwaways, pass attempts for which no player is a target in the official gamebook, than the winning bid for this item. He had 6 throwaways last week.
That's
Is
it.
this a regular auction?
Thank you, Denise. My gosh,
Yes.
I was waiting for I was waiting for many more things.
Yes.
Are fewer throwaways than the highest.
Then
Bid
whatever the
here.
winning bid is, yeah.
Oh, we're just yelling out bids here. Is that right?
Yes.
3,
Okay.
4.
5. Going
Minshew
once.
has
Going
Minshew has
twice.
6. Minshew has fewer throwaways than what? the
7.
It's more valuable the higher it goes.
8.
Yeah. 9.
Oh, wow.
10.
See, Sheila can play like there's no tomorrow here, right? You know.
Yeah, but either way, like you guys are kind of on the same team here.
I
So-
did not ask for this, Zach. Believe me, this was not. Hey, Bo, can I come on and play Swooper? I mean, yeah.
10 going once.
10.
10 going twice.
A Sheila win isn't a win for me, right? So
Yeah.
Sold
Yeah,
for-
that's
yeah.
true.
Okay.
We should have actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
we should
I
have
think
thought
the-
about that at like 7.
Yes.
but-
All right. So you've got 11 left, Sheila. All right, my last one. This will be the first game in 2023. There's a 23-yard gain during the game.
1.
2.
I feel like that would have been one of the ones you would have projected.
Yes,
for
my
secret.
last 2 are both leftovers from my Zach guesses.
Okay, I was gonna say. See, I was right.
3.
Wait, so exactly 20? You said
There's an
a gain of
exactly
20,
23-yard gain
By either
team during the game.
but
I'm
not
at
on
3.
Special teams too, or
Special
no?
teams doesn't count from scrimmage.
4.
Oh, that wasn't specified.
That's
So
true.
it is now.
Retroactively, once I bid 3.
Fine. Special teams count. Returns
Yeah,
count.
Riss is at 4.
Returns
uh,
count. Yeah.
Okay.
5.
5 going once. 5 going twice. Zach gets it.
Not a great bid though.
Well,
I don't want to
I'll be-
keep outbidding you, Zach. I feel like we got to be better with that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Marissa.
okay. Andy Dalton has more turnovers than Gardner Minshew.
3.
How many more things do we have here? Are we almost done?
3 left. 3 left,
4.
Including this or not?
including this.
All right. Dalton is more interceptions, you said, Marissa, or
Turnovers.
turnovers? Than
Turnovers.
Minshew.
5.
5. Ooh. No respect for Gardner Minshew. Sheesh.
No respect for Dalton.
Dalton.
Dalton has more.
Dalton has
more
more.
turnovers than Minshew.
Yeah.
I'm fading. Listen. This is,
It's okay. You knew what you were in for.
I'll go 6. I don't have anything this week so far.
all right.
6 going once. 6 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
Okay.
Okay, Zach, what do we got?
The Eagles defense has more sacks than the vaunted Georgia defense does against Ohio State.
And with that, Bo does not get a point because none of his fit.
When we're done bidding, you can read out my prediction.
Give it up.
Okay.
Give it up.
Okay. Good job, Zach. And I will go 1.
2.
3.
4.
5.
6.
7.
7. You got it.
7 going once.
8.
Ooh. 8 going once.
9.
Come on, Chill. You can't leave with turkeys.
And there's one more after this?
Yeah.
But it's a Daniz.
Which
All right.
in like the past 5 weeks or past like 8 weeks, it's been the Eagles win the game. So
11.
11
That's all
going
I got.
once. 11 going twice. Sold to Shield.
good job.
What was that again?
I don't know. I just
Or
didn't want to
winning.
do the last one.
It was the Eagles defense has more.
Eagles sacks over
Yeah.
Georgia sacks.
And of course, Jalen Carter is a player to watch on that Georgia defense. Typically, I would say Nolan Smith, but he's been injured. He's a really good edge rusher on that defense. But Jalen Carter is the player that Eagles fans are going to want to watch on that defensive front.
All right, Marissa, would you mind reading off my guesses for Zach's guesses for his submissions?
This is the one that I thought was going to hit. AJ Brown sets an Eagles single season receiving mark.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Ellis, Kaiser White outsnap Caden Ellis and Kevin White.
that was gonna be that was okay. Yeah, that was.
You were gonna have that?
Before I thought of the college football theme, but yeah, it's okay.
So Bo is officially in.
I feel good about that one. That one is the one where I was like, I really might hit this one.
Yeah.
No, I thought the AJ Brown one was good.
I was
And what was the
excited
third
about
one?
the Ellis's.
The third one was the Eagles have 0 turnovers.
Oh no, the other possibility I had was they got their fourth player getting double-digit sacks in this game.
I thought about
Okay,
that, but
that was-
you know that Marissa also has that one
Yes, I do carry
carrying
that one
over as a
over.
possibility.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. So I did not know. But yeah, for our audience, there's 2 Eagles linebackers who have lockers right next to each other, Christian Ellis and Kaiser White. And what's fascinating about this is they both have brothers in the Saints organization. Okay, Caden Ellis is a linebacker for the Saints and plays quite a bit now. And then you all know Kaiser White's brother, Kevin White, the former top 10 pick by the Chicago Bears. He's on the practice squad for the Saints, so he won't be playing in the game, but he will be at the game. It's a big game for the White family. And Kevin White, I was speaking to Kaiser about it today. It says a lot about Kevin White, in my opinion, and in Kaiser's opinion, that here he is in his 30s, like former top 10 pick, and still hanging on for the play practice squad. And Kaiser said he doesn't need the money. He made a lot of money as a top 10 pick. He's done a good job saving it, but he said that he just loves football and he loves being part of a team. And that's why he's still hanging on at this stage of his career with the Saints.
All right. What's our last?
Okay, our last one. The Eagles clinched the number 1 seed. Regular auction, but unlimited borrowing from next week's turkeys is allowed for all bidders. The winner gets to keep this item throughout the rest of the regular season if needed, and will get a point on the week that it happens, whichever week that may be.
But I don't get any turkeys back. It's not like past ones. Okay.
No, unlimited borrowing from next week's turkeys is allowed for all bidders, but it does not say anything about any turkeys returning.
All bidders, he said, unlimited turkeys. I mean, I would be an all bidder.
Agreed.
So you got 0 turkeys left. 8.
9.
How many do I have left?
10.
10.
12.
13.
14.
15.
18.
19. That's the highest I can go.
Oh, don't tell him that, Zach.
He knows. He has it written down.
Well, you can
No, you
borrow
have
from next week.
24. You have 24
24.
left,
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
right?
Yeah, I didn't count my carryovers from last week.
Yeah.
Okay. I carried over 5
But
from last week.
there is borrowing, right?
And you can
Yeah.
borrow from next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I only have one item, so okay. What are you at? 19 or 18?
You're at 19.
No,
I'm at
you're at
19.
19. 19 going once. 19 going twice.
Sold.
Sold to Zach.
Okay, good job.
All right. So Zach has the Eagles clinched the number 1 seed, and there is a 23-yard gain in the game. Marissa has Andy Dalton has more turnovers than Gardner Minshew. Sheil has the Eagles have more sacks than Georgia has sacks. The Eagles have 2 or fewer turnovers in the game, and I can't even read the other one. So that's good podcasting.
Less than two to something about less than 2 turnovers.
No, I already got that one.
Oh,
I think it's.
I'm Zach. I'm picturing you. You go at like Emily's sleeping. You go at like 12:30. After this is over, you shake her. All right, I'm ready to watch.
Yeah, that's probably how it's gonna happen. Yeah.
If you want the recap, just check out Dana's Twitter.
And I also have the one from last week.
And you also have the Brandon Graham one from last week. That's right. All right, Sheil. Do you want to let us? Is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything you want to tell people what you've been doing? Who knows?
Yeah.
How are you doing, by the way? And how do you get your protein?
It's funny, I just did. We did a Qdoba yesterday, which I haven't done in a while. They do the impossible meat in the burrito, which I thought was a nice, nice twist.
We're doing a lot of like meat sauce, like for pasta with Impossible or Beyond.
Okay.
In the house.
See, I don't need like anything in this. I just like a nice blush, like a rosé, a vodka. So that's all I need on that. I don't need any chunks in there.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of chickpeas.
We do meatballs too.
Garbanzo
Chickpeas
beans.
in place of.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything to plug? Well, I do a Phillies pod, as you said, the Ringers Philly special. Everyone can go ahead and subscribe to that.
Phillies pod?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Phillies pod.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
Can't wait for spring training. Trey Turner. It's going to be another fun season for the Phils. And then the Ringer NFL feed, of course, every Monday night, Extra Point Taken. And most Thursdays, the Scramble. There you go. That's it.
There you go.
Yeah, I also think we need.
But you don't need to read my picks. If you got Zach's picks, I would not be reading my picks.
I only do a few of them, so make sure you read and give Sheil that page view.
All right, click, but don't read. Yeah, I like that.
What about the Instagram?
At Sheil Kapadia.
Are you still plugging that or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sheil, you know what
What's Bill Simmons like?
Great so far.
Yeah. I listen to his pods. Sheil knows him personally. Bill's great to listen to.
Do you have Malcolm Gladwell?
Why don't you? No, what?
I don't know. It's Malcolm Gladwell.
Sheil, I was gonna say something. What like a tip of the cap that I have for your picks column, in addition to the fact that you get a lot of the picks right, is that you don't waste your time with like the meaningless introduction. I shouldn't call it meaningless, but like I'm always trying. So I do my picks, and then I'm like, how am I supposed to start this column? Like,
basically, hate the start of the column.
The start.
Yeah. And
I want to do nothing.
Sheil's really good about like just getting right to it. Right? He's like this. Here's the picks, and I'm like sitting there trying to figure out like a clever top to it or something.
No one's reading
for the
that.
week. Exactly. Yeah. So I just want to say. And I mean, am I allowed to say this? Bill Simmons, in his mailbags growing up.
Depends what you're going to say. I mean, is this going to be a Pizzagate thing or?
No. Bill Simmons in his mailbags when I was growing up, he used to say like enough foreplay onto the emails, right? And it was like
UF after dark.
You know what I say? Why stop at foreplay? Make it 5 play.
Okay. All right. But yeah, so I just kind of want to be like, all right, you're here for the picks. Let's get to the picks, So.
All right, Sheil, do you have any predictions for this Eagles-Saints game that you'd like to?
Well, the line kept moving. What's the line at now? It was 7, and it was
6.5.
6.5, and then it was 5.5. Oh, it's up to 7. Did it go back up?
Let me see here.
It was like 5.5 this morning.
I see 8 right now, or is that a 6? I can't tell.
What? What's wrong with you? You need to get your eyes checked.
It's a 6. No, it's a very small
6
number.
or an 8.
So here we go on.
I see
bet
6.
On BetMGM. It's 6.5 now with the over under of 42, and Eagles are minus 275.
I have no feel for this game. I think they could absolutely blow them out, and it could be a party. I did not pick that just because I'm not. I could see the Eagles offense struggling a little bit in this game. No Lane Johnson. They've got some physical corners. I thought Gardner-Minshew on film was not as good as the numbers maybe indicated there. I think he's very well supported, but I could see him turning the ball over a little bit. So I actually picked the Saints to cover, Eagles to win. I think I had 24-19 Eagles. Now, it would be more fun. Do you agree it would be more fun for content if the Eagles were to lose this game?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, then you're going into, oh, baby, week 18.
But selfishly, it'd be nice to have a week that doesn't matter before we get to
And
the
a bye week.
You say that now, then you're going to be sitting in that press box week 18 being like, what are we right about now? I guess you could eat some pretzels. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I sort of feel the same way. Like I am holding out a possibility that Jalen Hurts does somehow play in this game. Just like knowing how pathological he is. Like it's similar to like if you're gonna preach compete from the day that you're there, and Jalen Hurts is like the guy who embodies that and he wants to play, then how do you hold him back? But I do think that I felt like today was a little bit too much of a show. I think it will be Gardner Minshew. I think he will play better. I mean, the Saints team is like, it's a floundering team, even if they've played better of late. Maybe Taysom Hill does some interesting things, but I think the Eagles are going to be able to take care of business in this game. And I think they will cover. So give me the Eagles led by Gardner Minshew. I have a super for fewer than 15 points. So let's say 24-14.
The Eagles are the better team here. Saints are not a good team. We've seen that this season. I know they've won 2 in a row. They're 6-9 on the season. They could have double-digit losses if the Eagles beat them here. The Eagles are playing at home, right? And A.J. Brown said after the game that we can't forget the fact that they played 3 straight games on the road. They were on a short week last week against a good team. I thought they played real well. They put themselves in, they gave Dallas short fields. They otherwise put themselves in position to win. The offense was moving the ball effectively. I think the Eagles blow out the Saints. I'm down on the Saints team. Shield did what I usually do, which is pick one team to win, the other team to cover. Yeah, and I'm not doing that here. I think the Eagles win, and I am going 30-13 Eagles.
Shield.
No, Bo, did you want to respond to my Sound of Music take?
What's the Sound of Music take?
Have you seen the Sound of Music, ZB?
A long time ago when I was a kid.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago, but then we saw it here. It was playing at the Media Theater. Took the kids. A little too horny for a little old school musical. I mean, settle down, Von Trapp. And then 16 going on 17? What the hell? We're still allowed to be doing? I mean, come on. I think it's a little outdated. That Bo, I feel like you have thoughts on this. No,
I have not seen it recently enough to have serious thoughts. Although I
treat yourself, watch it, and then let me know.
And is it fair to say that you were very pleased with EJ, but you were actually hoping for a little bit more from him on the horny?
Well, I didn't expect. I didn't think. I mean, I like Zach. I don't think anybody has really seen the Sound of Music in 20 years except for us, just because it was playing here. So I didn't. Yeah, EJ was great, but I didn't expect him.
My real memory is like, oh, we're gonna watch a movie with Nazis. Like,
yeah, that's true too.
You gotta understand with EJ, you need. I'm sorry, go on.
No, yeah, I mean the mailman guy who turns into a Nazi. I mean, talk about hornball. Settle down, big guy. I know you let him go at the end, but geez, just deliver the telegram. Be on your way. All right. Sorry.
With EJ, you'll have to keep your references to more like Marissa's age here, right? I said
on 17.
I said to Bo and Marissa when we were doing we have to have EJ on before he goes on Shield's pod. I made a Saved by the Bell reference, right? Like I feel like he's Kelly Kapowski in between, Slater and Zach Morris here, and EJ did not understand the reference at all.
Who would have been Slater and who would have been Zach Morris in that?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think. I don't know. I will defer to the audience between Bo and Shield. Who's Slater and who's Zach?
I used to watch that before school in the morning.
Did you?
With my cousin, yeah.
Well, when you wake up in the morning and you
yes, and we would watch Saved by the Bell.
I was about to sing the theme song. Yeah. But...
Do it, Zach. Shield, we've gone 2 hours and 8 minutes and we have not asked about Jessica. So
yeah.
How's Jessica?
Great.
Does she miss us? Because we miss her.
Yeah, everyone's great. We got a little fever going on with Leela today, but other than that, everyone's good.
What were their big Christmas presents?
I mean, big. I got him I got Nia Bryce Harper a T-shirt of his face when Kyle Schwarber hit the home run because that was her favorite.
When is
moment
Nia getting a pod?
Phillies run. Yeah, she's ready. You know, her teacher.
That is very Ringer-esque. Yeah, give your daughter a pod, right? Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's fine.
Oh.
My
Oh, that's
God.
not a bad way. That's not a bad way.
I mean, we already had a Lindsey Jones pod with her daughter.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Her teacher threatened to have me in and talk podcasting to the class a little bit. I don't think she'd be too thrilled about that, but we'll see. That's all.
Okay.
All right.
Peckness Migrate, Ben Solak, Stephen Ruiz, and Lindsey Jones.
I will nest them all.
Well, that's illegal.
Everyone is great.
So you've been fired.
Not in the Sound of Music.
Wait, what did you think of us having Kevin Nagandi on the show?
Yeah, I mean, that was a low blow. I mean, that was really talk about low blows, beyond low blows. I felt like he knew what was up and didn't play along. And, you know,
He was great, though. He was great.
He'll be better, you know, when he's with a fellow Indian.
What would you have asked that we didn't know to ask?
No, I'm not telling you. I'm going to ask him.
All right. So the war is back on. Can we keep the beef going?
Listen, I was waiting to come on. I knew Marissa and Zach were ready to have me on, so I'm not going to be waiting this long for the next one. I'll be texting them, and we'll be surprising you because I can't let some of these notes. I mean, I didn't even get all my. I missed so many notes over
Knock
the
a few
months
out
'cause
here.
it's been so long. So it's got to be there every 3 months or so.
Okay.
This was a great surprise. This was like a post-Christmas present. This made my day.
All right. Well,
Sorry for the audio issues. It will not keep me up at night, though.
Wait, real quick. I want to give a happy birthday shout out to Paco, friend of mine.
Oh,
Paco!
Paco!
If you made it this long, happy birthday to Paco. But also, we will not be back, the three of us on here until after the new year, right? Until January 1st. So have a happy new year to everyone, and let's make 2023 the best year yet for both the three of us and the four of us here and the pod. And I appreciate Marissa sent us the numbers before we got on. I so appreciate everyone who's been listening. And
we're doing better without you, Sheil.
Who came on this year. I and we don't take it for granted. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
How is he not doing it?
Thank
you.
You
Talked about this.
Thank you.
I thought that was going to be the big finish.
I thought that was the whole thing.
Oh my God. All the build up and then no payoff.
Unbelievable.
Wait, what happened?
We'll see you next year, Zach.
Zach, you said you said you were going to write it down. You were going to close the last episode with, all right, see you guys next year.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
All that.
And Sheil knew it.
And I quote you, Zach. You said, "I will not forget."
Yes.
I will not forget.
And
we'll see you next year.
And you even pulled out to have a big moment. I thought that was for sure what was coming.
Sorry. It's been a long week.
Wow.
You're right. We'll see you next year.
I like Mikey's idea. He suggests I go on the Ringers Philly special and do a post-pod reaction rather than like an Eagles post-game pod reaction. I just go on there and talk about the 2 hours took it out of me, but that is a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe if they get to the Super Bowl, we can do a home and home from Radio Row.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. Well, for Zach and Marissa and Sheil, thank you for joining us. We'll be back Sunday night with a post-game reaction, whether the Eagles have clinched or not. And otherwise, we'll see you next year. So once again, for Marissa and Zach and Sheil and Cliff, I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. And as always, we love you.